Righto. Welcome, Peter, number 6.
Good morning.
Sorry to hold you up.
Mr. Mayor, when have we got morning tea scheduled?
No, we haven't got time.
Do we need to sort out morning tea? No?
Pete won't be long.
Okay. Look, just before we dive into the numbers, I just wanted to explain, mainly for the benefit of the new councillors, you get a little suite of reports here. You get an overview of the vital few performance statistics from me. Then you'll be hearing from Andrew in the Project Management Office about capital and from the finance team about our financials. So they come as a little group of 3. The objective with mine is, this is not a communications report or a PR report. It's designed to give you an objective overview of where we're at against the vital few things we need to deliver. Sometimes that's good news and we should celebrate that. Sometimes it's not so good and we generally work together to fix it. But that's the approach we take into this report. Speaking of celebrating, the first item there is levels of service, which are on track and in fact delivering about where they normally would during peacetime, if you like. That's actually something that can go by the board really easily, and I just want to flag that. Given COVID, given vacancies, given supply chain issues, given an extraordinary winter season, levels of service have actually been quite hard to maintain. The fact that where we normally would be without all of those things is actually just because the teams out there, the men and women involved, have really put their heads down over the last 6 months. In fact, the last 24 months. So while it's just a green light, it's actually a bit of a win because it could easily be the opposite. And if you've flown recently or been involved with any external agencies, all you hear is things are a little bit broken, things are not joined up, your bags aren't going to be on the flight. That's everywhere, but it isn't here. So we're doing about as well as we would in normal times. Capital, not so good. That's below target, and for the reasons you know about, and Andrew will expand upon in his PMO report. But look, this supply chain issue, inflationary pressures, these are not going away anytime soon. And that's something that Andrew will speak to. Capital planning for future years is probably a little bit more of a concern in the sense that the planning needs to be in place to feed the delivery of capital. And we're probably a little bit lower there than we would like to be. Big future years, 25, 26, that's a long way out. That's always a stretch. But drawdowns for the coming year, probably a little lower than we would normally hope for. And again, that's something we can dig into and report back on. So just very quickly now, I won't spend long on the detail of the report, but levels of service largely affected by the lack of overseas visitors, which is not something we control. So that's areas like the art gallery. Parks having some struggles with the extraordinary winter season we've had, meaning that spring growth is a little bit Armageddon. Consent volumes are still up, despite changing economic conditions. And of course, leakage rates around water supply have been an issue for some time. Resident survey results, as you might remember, Councillor McDonald was particularly keen on this. 6 months ago, we asked all the heads of service to respond to you about what their results mean in the resident survey, what their interpretation of the drivers are, and what they're going to do to improve things going forward, or maintain them if they're already good. We're pulling that information from the heads of service again, and we'll come back to you at the end of November. I think it's the first meeting of Finance and Performance, with the overview of what all of those heads of service have come back with as a progress report. So we haven't forgotten, it's still on the books, and I know, Sam, you're particularly keen to see that resident survey progress update. So that's 30th of November, I believe is the date, Finance and Performance. In terms of operational budget, we have a small surplus. It's more wafer thin than it looks, but we are still in the right place to be at this time of year. Capital is underspent for reasons related to capital delivery. Obviously, the two overlap. And looking ahead, there is still a gap between our forecast delivery and our planned budget for capital. And that's something that will be brought to you on the 9th as a briefing for the annual plan. So you'll have some more detail, more insight into what the future looks like for capital and what your options are as a council. So, that's the overview of our sort of half dozen vital few. That, as I said, will be followed by the detailed capital and financial reports. But with your permission, Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to take any questions relating to that.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, very clearly articulated for us. Just on page 74, 4.5, and it's about the water supply leakage rates, and we know that this comes up every time. It's still sitting at 25%. What sort of remedial action suggestions are available? What does it mean?
Fortunately, we have the lovely Helen Beaumont here, and she can answer that for you a lot better than I can.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Cotter, you're aware that the primary piece of work is the water supply renewals and the mains renewals, and we have extra funding through the long-term plan for that, and we're driving that program across the city. The additional work that we're doing, though, is to focus on major leak repairs. Now, some major leaks are visible, and we can deploy our maintenance contractors and get out there and fix them. Some are not visible. And so that's the additional work we're doing with the smart water network monitoring to listen for those leaks, pinpoint them, and get to those leaks. So that work's begun out in Rāwhiti, and we're now looking to roll some of those sensors across other parts of the city.
Oh, that's really exciting. It's really good. So you're hoping that, when do you think that improvement will become noticeable?
Make a noticeable difference on that overall leakage rate? That will be years, I'm afraid, because the mains renewals works is the primary driver for improvement there.
And so is that leakage rate going to have an effect on any decision on our application for a chlorine exemption?
We're yet to see that. Certainly the leakage rate can be used as a proxy for network condition, and network condition is one of the concerns in terms of running a water supply with no residual chlorine. So maybe. We're yet to see what the criteria are and how they will evaluate them for those chlorine exemption applications.
Okay, so when you say years before the leakage rate percentage comes down noticeably, but would we be able to see some movement in the next year, or still can't say?
Pretty hard to say.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, we are. Some of them are large, yes. Potentially. It's a sort of a good thing and a bad thing. It's the free draining gravels that underlie the city, so leaks can be invisible, as many householders have found since we've had the focus on household water use as well. So it's interesting to note that residential water use, so in the wintertime, has gone down between 10 and 12% household water use. So that baseline water use is almost certainly due to leaks on the private side being fixed. And we have had some significant leaks reported and fixed through that work.
Yeah, thank you. Just on page 85, I was quite surprised to learn that we haven't done any condition assessment for footpaths since 2007 because we don't have the funding for it. And I would have thought that's one of the most basic things that a council should be focused on. So I was just kind of interested to know what the cost is of doing the condition assessment for footpaths. And if we don't know the condition of the footpaths, how are we prioritising where we fix the footpaths that are broken or in bad condition?
Can I jump in? Probably walked in at a good time. In terms of costs, we're going to put something up in the annual plan. I can't remember what the figure is right now, but we are putting something up in this year's annual plan for that kind of surveying of the footpaths. Sorry, what was the second part of the question?
Oh, so sorry, just on that cost thing though. I guess post the earthquake, I would have thought we would have had the most assessed city in the world. We've had presentations repeatedly from asset managers. We've had a whole department of council that's been focused on it. How is it that we just suddenly stop doing it?
I don't know is the honest answer. At the moment, we're doing it through complaints and what the maintenance teams are picking up as they go round.
Okay.
Could I just refer to the remedial action that's been supplied as a comment on this, that funds have been secured and 1,000 footpaths have been contracted with suppliers. So there are steps forward here. I'll let Lynette know that this is a question after we spoke earlier, and obviously she's not available today, but there will be a more detailed response on that. But I think it's fair to say that the statement that funds have been secured and 1,000 footpaths have been contracted with suppliers is at least a step in the right direction there.
But
We need to know what Lynette's response is, I think.
Yeah, but that's to fix ones that we know are broken. That's not to do the condition assessment. What you're saying is in the annual plan, we've got a funding application to get operational funds to actually assess our footpaths because we currently don't have money to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Just to the second part of that sentence is quite clear as well, though, Peter.
Yes.
Whereby the University of Canterbury have been engaged to actually use state-of-the-art technology to assess the condition of our footpaths, and I think that's important to reiterate.
So I'd like Lynette to have the opportunity to expand on that response, so that we really know what's actually going on in this space.
Right. And can I ask, like, we've obviously got also concern in the target above that around the maintaining the roadway condition to an appropriate national standard. Do we have the same issue with our carriageways? Do we know what the assessment is around the roads in terms of condition, in terms of what should be renewed versus what should be maintained? And yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
So we could get a prioritised list of curb and channel renewals.
Yeah.
Based on condition.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. And just I wondered whether we needed to talk to smart cities around, like, if the University of Canterbury I think it's great you're working with them to do things more efficiently. It sounds like what we've done with some of the tree canopy stuff. But I guess given that we've got a whole smart cities program, can we ensure that they're kind of connected up?
I'll have to ask Lynette what she's doing in that space. There may be work already in place that I just don't know about.
Okay, thank you.
Peter, sorry, come on. This thing that the University of Canterbury is being engaged to do, can someone send me a wee story on what it actually is going to do?
Yeah, look, as I said, I've given Lynette a heads up that we need a bit of a report on this to just unpack what is behind those comments there.
Yeah.
And that would include the university stuff.
Because I'm just answering your question, Yanni, I've put in, there is a paper coming back to us before Christmas on starting up this roving footpath crew that I'm on about. We need people that are standing at the start of it and walking along, not waiting for people to ring up and complain. We need to be proactive rather than reactive. So that's coming back to us in before Christmas.
And the other idea that's been put forward has to be to put little cameras on our trucks, our rubbish collection trucks that go around every street in the city to record condition, which seems a very sensible and cost-effective way to do it. So I think getting a report back or a memo back or maybe even a briefing, because I still want to understand how we stop doing the assessment. I was just shocked to read that.
Well, yeah, one thing, the way I look at it, we can have all the cameras and we can have all, and I'm not decrying anything that the University of Canterbury is doing, we can have all that stuff, but you can't beat having a group of people walking down a footpath saying, that's crook, that's good, leave that, do that. And then it's solved. So that's what I'm really pushing for.
So to be clear to both to the mayor and the councillor, who have slightly different approaches, we are bringing a report before Christmas that will be staff advice about how to get to the outcome you wish to achieve, which is improved footpaths, and the best possible options in which to do that.
I mean, the other concern I've got is that, like, we've had streets in my ward now that we've had maintenance renewal budgets spent when they actually should have been a capital renewal, and it's not efficient. We've wasted money, and my understanding is we've made the road condition worse than what it was before we did the maintenance. So, like, I'm really concerned at our asset understanding of condition and what's actually required to fix it, and I'm concerned that we're wasting money in the meantime by trying to rush in and do all these things at a maintenance level when things should actually be properly be renewed. So
Couldn't agree with you more.
maybe that could be put into that report.
Absolutely.
I'll make sure my general manager covers that.
Thank you. Just a couple of things. Firstly, the wording and the remedial action. the University of Canterbury has been engaged to develop a state-of-the-art technology. Universities love developing things because they've got students, and that's what they do. I'd be really interested to know if our staff have actually, if there is a program somewhere in the world that is specifically for this, because there must be other cities in the world that have these issues, because this is what universities do. They develop new technology, and it may be out there already. So I'm concerned about that. So it'd be really good to hear something back on that, because I don't want to pay an organisation to reinvent a wheel that's been used a dozen times somewhere else. We got a seminar in our community board some time ago about the new processes and technologies and products being used to better fix footpaths and roads. I'd like to see how that's connecting in with this, because that was an outstanding presentation by our staff and what they could achieve with the new products. So I'd like to see that lining in here, because I agree with the Mayor, to put cameras on trucks as though doing one job can help, but you can't actually beat walking in and having a look and seeing the issues that are affecting. And if you're healthy and skipping along and you can walk 500 yards to a
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt. I'm just wondering.
You just did, didn't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Being polite.
Would you like to interrupt, Sam?
No, I was just wondering because these will come to finance committee. I was thinking we have an offline chat about some other stuff and see if we can pull something through in the reporting as well. Yeah, that'd be useful. Thanks.
All right. Okay. Just up here now, aren't we?
Yeah, no further.
Okay, no.
Pauline's happy to move.
No further questions. Pauline has nicely moved it. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Mark. Is there any debate? Thank you very much. I'd like to put the motion. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. That's 2 in a row.
Thank you. On a roll.
Don't.
Jinx it.